Welcome to our channel. Please subscribe and like it. Thank you. Queen Elizabeth II and Prince Philip were an amazing couple, combining outward loyalty and mutual respect with endless humor and subtle romantic moments. In this video, I invite you to recall the cutest and most memorable moments from their lives by looking at pictures of the royal couple. The love story of Queen Elizabeth and Prince Philip is one of the most amazing, and it can seem like a truly fabulous story. The future spouses knew each other from a young age, gradually grew closer, and the feeling between them broke out when the Prince of Greece and Denmark was serving in the army, and the future queen was a tender teenager at the time. Elizabeth was sincerely in love from the beginning, wrote Margaret Rhodes, the Crown Princess's cousin. Nevertheless, the princess in love had to persevere to get her parents to agree to her choice of spouse. And Elizabeth and Philip waited long enough to finally marry. The future queen's wedding was an incredible celebration for all of Britain, inspired by images of young and beautiful lovers against the backdrop of the recent war. At his eldest daughter's wedding, George VI told one of his guests, "I wonder if Philip knows what he's taking on. One day Lilibeth will be queen and he will be consort. It's much harder than being king, but I think he's the right man for the job." The two were married in Westminster Abbey in late 1947, and as early as 1952, the heiress had to take the throne after the death of her father. However, the young family managed to spend several years in Malta, where the Duke of Edinburgh was then serving. In their early photographs, little Prince Charles and Princess Anne are often depicted against the idyllic backdrop of the countryside. As a couple, the couple spent more than 7 decades together and raised 4 children. The couple also had 8 grandchildren and 12 great-grandchildren, who were always very attached to Her Majesty and His Highness. Despite his consort status, the Duke of Edinburgh was considered the patriarch in the royal family, and it was to him that the monarch entrusted all major decisions concerning the Windsors' private life. Blonde-haired, blue-eyed, tall and handsome, Philip could charm any woman, but in the end he devoted his life to serving the interests of the state and the crown, invariably supporting his beloved wife, the Queen of Great Britain. And Elizabeth responded to him with devotion and love, which she continued to carry on even after her beloved husband's death. Side by side, the royal couple traveled around the world, from Australia to Africa to India, representing the Commonwealth countries with the Queen at their head. And the couple lightened their time of public service and duty with excellent humor. And, of course, the couple's relationship was full of mutual respect and admiration. Sometimes the couple had to be apart for weeks and months to perform official duties and tours on behalf of the crown. Sometimes, by contrast, Elizabeth and Philip traveled together and did not see their children for months, especially Charles and Anne. Nevertheless, family reunions in different parts of the world were always a memorable occasion for the Windsors. Sometimes they were full of romance, sometimes they were full of humor. Members of the royal family sometimes liked to make fun of each other. Many thought Philip too straightforward and too enthusiastic, but he was the author of many of the modernizing moves that changed the face of the royal family. It was His Highness who first suggested that a documentary be made about the royal family to be shown on television. The royal couple have always had their rituals: summers at Balmoral, Christmas at Sandringham. The couple's interests were closely intertwined. For example, Elizabeth had always had a passion for horse riding and breeding, while Philip played polo, switching to sled dog racing when an injury prevented him from maintaining his hobby. Princess Anne was the first to make her parents grandparents. The royal couple's only daughter gave birth to daughter Zara and son Peter, and Elizabeth and Philip quickly became accustomed to their new role and began spending vacations with their grandchildren, taking them on their beloved Britannia yacht and to their residences for vacations. And now the youngest of the couple's grandchildren, a daughter and son of the Earl and Countess of Wessex, are growing up. Surprisingly, Elizabeth and Philip managed to celebrate both their diamond and platinum wedding anniversaries. As the couple prepared for their 60th anniversary, they recreated photos taken during their honeymoon, arriving at the same location and repeating their earlier poses. His Highness was known to call his beloved wife not only Lilibeth, as she was always called by her family, but also dear. And the couple also liked to have dinner and watch something on TV like a normal couple. Her Majesty's spouse is said to have prepared the simplest of gifts for romantic occasions, a bouquet of flowers and other usual signs of attention. But the prince borrowed the stone for the engagement ring for the future queen from his mother's tiara, which makes this piece of jewelry priceless from a sentimental point of view. Prince Philip died peacefully at the age of 99 on the morning of April 9, 2021 at Windsor Castle, just months short of his centenary. He spent his last years at Windsor Castle with his wife, where he moved because of the pandemic so that he would not be separated from Elizabeth due to quarantine. The Queen was reportedly at her husband's bedside until the very end. Queen Elizabeth II had a hard time after the death of her beloved husband, with whom she had been married for more than 70 years. He had played an important role in her life and she had a hard time, but Her Majesty still managed to cope with her grief. Prince Philip was for many decades the main support for the woman at the head of Europe's oldest monarchy. In her widowhood, Elizabeth II lost not only a devoted husband and father of her 4 children, but also a loyal companion on whose shoulder she could always lean. But none of us is eternal. In 2012, Prince Philip was hospitalized during his wife's Diamond Jubilee celebration, and 5 years later he made the decision to leave his patronage and public life, joking that he had better go while he can still walk. He spent much of his later years at the Sandringham residence, but moved to Windsor during the pandemic to live there with his wife. It was also where the couple met their last Christmas together, without their children, grandchildren and great-grandchildren, who were separated by the pandemic. The photo of Elizabeth II sitting alone with her head down at the funeral made a very grave impression on fans. Her Majesty looked completely devastated. Elizabeth II cancelled all public celebrations of her birthday, April 21st, which fell during a 2-week period of mourning for Prince Philip. The Queen did not leave Windsor Castle until the evening. Only after dinner did she go for a walk with her dogs, who, according to palace staff, comforted her. In the days that followed, the Queen also received visits from her immediate family to brighten her loneliness. In the months that followed, Elizabeth II had already fully returned to her work schedule. Despite the fact that royal experts immediately noted how well Elizabeth II has been holding up since her husband's death, it was obviously not easy for her. As has already been said, Prince Philip was the main support for his wife. It is therefore highly symbolic that after his death, she especially loved one important object that belonged to him during his lifetime. Namely, his favorite cane. She leaned on it as she walked out to high-ranking guests of Sandringham House in February 2022. And she had a smile on her face, which has been rare enough since Philip's death. It was as if her husband's cane had given her strength and reminded her of her happy years with the man she loved. Thank you for watching. Please subscribe and like this video.